Alex ran to them, wanting to help his mother, but she was already recovering from fainting, while Sumerokov placed a fragrant twig in his nostrils. Little by little, he woke up and soon was better. Katienka gave him an amphora with alcohol, mixed with some medicinal herbs too, that she smelled. The woman, inhaling the fragrant mixture, looked around for Kostya. "Come here, my son." "Come, Vladimir," he called, extending his hand. Kostya took his hand, knelt on the carpet, under the eyes of Alex, who already knew the story, waiting for the opportune moment to speak to the mother. But events precipitated the news. Sumerokov watched everything, very suspicious. "I thought fear incinerated," said Mrs. Norobod. "How did it all happen? How did you save?" 42 testimony of Vladimir. Kostya, encouraged by everyone, began to narrate the event. Mrs. Norobod wanted to ask the big question, but she lacked the courage. Her lips trembled, filled with emotion. She wanted to know news of the child. Perhaps he was a figure who had helped Nastasia running away that night, and the child was with him hidden since he was alive by divine mercy. Katienka returned from her room, stood beside Sumerokov, and listened to a part of the narrative that had already been told. New in part, but that new character was going to change a lot of things. The girl found it strange. Similarity between Mayra and the dead woman, to the point that the boy imagined that she was his own bride. Something was wrong there, very wrong, but at that moment his head was spinning, and he couldn't come to a conclusion. No conclusion. Who got the baby? Asked Katina, full of curiosity, anticipating the words of Mrs. Norobod. The question remained unanswered. Kostya continued the narrative, as if reliving the cruel scenes, with eyes full of bitterness and hatred, because neither of the two guilty parties were there. Found, out of respect for old Norobod, he did not want to vent his old grudge against her any further. Person of her husband, I could not, under any circumstances, approach the mansion at the risk of being captured and killed. Our escape plan hadn't been discovered. Someone was spying on us, I suspected. Someone more cunning could still be watching Sasha. Inside the palace there must be a spy. I tried to find a way out, devising a new plan. Nastasia was our only means of communication, and we had agreed that after the birth of our son, the three of us would run away far away, and we would take the nanny with us. Nastasia comforted her, without telling her that I was alive, leaving her, new for the final stage of the plan. Faithful Nastasia told me that even the castle walls had ears. We couldn't be too careful. Our strategy had everything to work, since they were. Unarmed as to me, everyone thought I was dead. I suffered greatly, hiding the truth from Sasha. We couldn't tell her our secret, so as not to hinder our escape plan. She was suffering. Much with my death, and the joy of my life could ruin everything. Nastasia bravely managed to evade surveillance and visit me in hiding. The poor woman asked me, in tears, "Let me tell her, Sasha, that you are alive. This will ease her suffering." He replied, "Not yet, Nastasia. We can't take the risk. It's true, Sasha wouldn't know. Pretend. It's better that you continue to think I'm dead." The next day, Nastasia, in tears, visited me in my hiding place and told me, horrified, that the last order would be to assassinate my son in the womb. Hatred infuriated me so much that if I could, at that moment, I would enter, at any cost, in the palace, and from there I would remove Sasha before my son was born. Such a state of soul almost betrayed me. Good Nastasia, however, could not abandon her to her grief. She was very depressed, and to help her, when they were alone, he told her that I was alive and explained our plan to give him strength. We would take the child away first, then we would look for him. Our fear. So it was to capture the baby at birth. Sasha was so happy with the news of my fake death that his strength increased. He wanted to fight and bring our son into the world. He sent me words of love through Nastasia, and the hope of reunion gave us life and strength to overcome the longing and surviving. On the night of birth, unexpectedly a problem occurred. Although attentive to all movements, the time was suitable for me. The darkness favored our flat, Nastasia and I had agreed on a signal at the time the child was born. At the first symptoms of labor, I would already be there. As soon as she was born, she handed me my daughter through the window from the room and pretended to be a bundle as if it were the baby, in case someone else entered the room. Sasha was so weak that she didn't even notice my presence at the window. When someone outside noticed my presence, raised the alarm and followed me. With that baby in my arms, my legs seemed to have acquired wings. I ran quickly. I couldn't see anything in front of me. After running a lot, I stopped at the wall of an abandoned hut. I sighed with relief. At least had found a roof. I was afraid they were following me, and I put my little daughter on a grabado. Indeed, someone was following me. I heard the noise of a cart. I tried to avoid my pursuer so that he wouldn't catch my little daughter, and I ran, making noise, attracting his attention to my side, pulling him away from the cabin. When I lost him, I would go back and get my baby, thinking that no one else could find him in that lonely cabin. So as soon as I managed to lose my pursuer, and when everything calmed down, I silently returned after my daughter. It took me a long time to find the cabin, and when I got there, it was almost daylight. My disappointment was big. My daughter wasn't there. I had written a note in case something happened, and I couldn't keep it. Now, the piece of paper was useless. I crumpled it up and left it on the clipboard. Desperate, I returned to the farm, risking my own life, and found on the way the corpse of Nastasia, and together, the bundle completely undone. Great fear took hold of my soul. Where was my daughter? I looked for her everywhere, secretly. I went around the palace to find out news of my Sasha. I hid from everyone because an order had been given to execute me. I learned that Sasha had also died. Hidden, I attended his funeral. A friend who knew everything informed me that there were no children on the farm. I looked for my daughter in every possible corner. No one gave any news. Despair took hold of me, and, blinded by grief, I abandoned this damn place. I never heard from my daughter again. It seemed like the earth had swallowed her. Then I found out from A. Mujik that the one chasing me on that fateful night was Nastasia. The nurse had fled in a cart to warn me that I had been discovered and to mislead anyone who might be following me. The bundle that I found next to his body was the simulacrum of the plane of Sasha's valiant nurse, who I will pay for my daughter's life with my own life. Only God and Sasha will know where she is. There was a general silence. Everyone was too emotional to say anything. Vladimir had finished his story, his voice choked with emotion and tears. Mrs. Norobod was also crying. Iulián Sumarokov, trembling and silent, sat in a corner, listening to Vladimir's story. Now he confirmed the facts. Instinctively, Sumarokov put his right hand to his chest, where he kept the note. He did not. He felt encouraged to get rid of it. He had had the urge to burn it, and he himself didn't know why. That led him to keep a proof that, now, no longer made sense, because he was sure that his Mayra was the same granddaughter as Norobod. After the story, a noise coming from inside caught their attention. It was Mayra, who got up, opened the door, creaking it slightly, and entered the house calmly. All eyes were turned towards her. She looked closely at Kostya, the man who had been in her room, had called her Sasha, and soon after, Mrs. Norobod had felt ill. What was happening? Mayra was a living image of his mother, and Kostya could not take his eyes off her. He felt a sudden tenderness for her, a peace so great that, instinctively, he got up and approached her, very emotional. "How beautiful your daughter is, Sumarokov!" he exclaimed, turned to his friend, who did not know what to say. Mayra smiled shyly, also sympathizing with the stranger. Her heart was pounding, out of sync, and she tried to stay calm. "Thank you, sir," she replied timidly, gallantly, overcoming her emotion. "Vladimir," he said, completing his sentence, believing for a moment that he was ahead of his time. "Beloved, I once had a girlfriend, whose name was Sasha, and she must have been the same age as you. And as you look like her, are you better? Does your wound still hurt? The pain is gone, Mr. Vladimir, he replied modestly. Kostya, encouraged, turning to Sumarokov, asked, will you allow me to visit you more often? Of course, sheep, come back again. Iulián answered him somewhat annoyed, noticing his friend's visible interest and the great admiration he had awakened in his daughter. Concerned about how things were unfolding, he tried to change the subject, looked at his bride, asking, Katienka, do we have enough tea for everyone? Yes, Iulián, he replied precisely. Bowing his head to Mayra, he asked her to help Katienka. Come, Mayra, help me serve him. Excuse me, sir. Mayra graciously bowed to Vladimir and followed Katienka to the stove where the water was boiling. 43 comrade Kostya falls in love. Vastia, enchanted by the girl, followed her with his gaze, and no one doubted his enthusiasm. The two left, and the topic in the room turned to the latest events, the meeting in the city, the great success achieved among the workers. Kostya, however, was completely oblivious, his gaze vague and dull. He only perked up when the two women brought in the steaming samovar and placed on the table. As the two served the tea, everyone noticed the incandescent looks that Kostya was giving them. To the beautiful young woman, she, too, felt attracted to him, casting glances at him, sometimes shy, sometimes a little more audacious. That mature man awakened in her a strange and moving feeling. His little heart seemed to leap in his chest. After all, he was his father's friend, but he seemed much younger. Then he was a handsome man. The night ended happily. Kostya was going to sleep at Alex's house. He, the former employee, persecuted to death, now entered the mansion at the owner's invitation. Irony of fate, he thought. Kostya, her heart still filled with bitterness from old and painful memories. That young woman, whose innocent gaze had made him happy, seemed like a sun illuminating his path. Until then, he had lived only with the memories of his gentle and sweet Sasha. The capricious fate placed in front of him someone so looked like his beloved. She seemed to be living a dream. Perhaps she was the same age as his daughter, if were alive today. A great loneliness overcame him when he entered the Norobodowski mansion. He was at the home of his beloved, breathing the same air she had breathed. So many memories kept her awake. She had the impression that Sasha was with him all night, and he could hardly wait for the day to break, so he could see her again, that beautiful little creature that had moved him so much. Mayra, likewise, that night, was unable to sleep. She had never experienced the sensation, the same in his entire life. It was as if he had already known him. The figure of the handsome man with dark eyes was not. Left her mind. His penetrating gaze seemed to follow her everywhere. The blue eyes of young man shone in the darkness. His long eyelashes blinked slowly, as if he were seeing several figures, and so he stayed up late, only managing to sleep at dawn. The next day, she woke up feeling dejected. Her leg still hurt, and the violent fall had caused her pain. On the back. When Christian went to the kitchen early, Katienka had already been awake for a long time, for Sumarokov had to meet with Alex and some moujiks to decide on important changes in the work. The young man found Katienka placing delicious rye bread and hot tea on the table. Good morning, Katienka, he greeted cheerfully. Good morning, Christian. Where's Daddy? Your father went to mansion. He has many things to arrange. Mr. Alex appointed him manager of some crops and must now be reunited. Fortunately, the nightmare is over, said Christian, sitting down on a bench. Ah, Katienka, you needed to watch Sergei escape. That damn thing almost found me, but he was so scared. That ended up taking my horse. For a moment, I thought he was going to catch me. I never spent the night. Same. It was horrible. Luckily, Papal found me. The little boy was finishing telling his story when Mayra came in limping, greeted them smilingly, and heard the last sentence. Kreslin, tell me how it all went. I asked him to repeat the adventure. Excuse me, Yesterday, the atmosphere was very tumultuous. I couldn't hear you. How'd they find you? Kreslin began to narrate, in detail, the adventure he had lived since he had fled after his father, and the two women listened to him attentively. Where is that cabin? Mayra wanted to know, becoming interested. It's an abandoned place. It's near the wheat fields. You'll like it, Mayra. There's a lot of it there. A blue from the woods 19. Do you remember when we picked them to decorate your hair? Of course not. It's my favorite flower. Take me to the field? Question, when my leg is sore. Good. Asked the young woman. I want to pick some flowers. Turning gracefully to Katienka, we have some jars on the cupboard that need decorating. 19 delicate flowers that grow in the fields of rye. End of the spiritual author. The three continue to chat animatedly, enjoying the delicious rye bread, which were soaking in a kind of porridge, while drinking hot tea. Soon the others entered, brothers, already late for school. The table was filled with laughing youth. The brothers laughed and ate as much as they wanted. Suddenly, the kitchen emptied. Pavel, who was last, asked, You won't go? I won't go, Pavel. I don't feel well. Mayra justified herself, still feeling unwell and limping. What a shame. Professor Semyon is returning today of all days? Pavel replied, trying hard, so that his sister could go with him. Yes, I'm very unwell, I told him, waving my hand. Pavel followed behind his brothers. Katienka, worried, turned to Mayra. Let me see your wound? She looked up at the room. The wound wasn't bleeding, but it was swollen and red. I'm going to put on a compress. Mayra, wait for me. With her leg extended on the cushion, the girl looked at the wound, but her thoughts was with her father's friendly friend whom she had met the night before. When the girl returned with some cloths, he asked, trying to hide his interest, Katienka, did you already know Vladimir? Yes, your father and I visited him once, but he introduced himself with his war name, Kostya. We didn't know his real name, but Kostya and Vladimir are the same person, replied Katienka, noticing her interest, and, to encourage her, he asked her, and a beautiful man, don't you think? Mayra blushed. She was very sincere in her observations, and indifferent to what Katienka might. Thinking confirmed. It's true he's a handsome man. You're becoming a woman. Sumarokov's bride smiled as she poured water, boiling in the cloths, looking at her sideways. And completely changing the course of the conversation, Mayra, still with a contemplative look at the window, from where the school could be seen, he made a sad face. What is it now? Asked Katienka, seeing her with that expression. I just want to know, Katenka, why Nikolai doesn't pay attention to me. He doesn't even care. Interested in my health. Treats me as if I didn't exist. It's your impression, Mayra. Nikolai is a bit quiet. Maybe that's why. If you observe him closely, Katenka, you will see that I am right. He barely greets me, and I feel that. Even dodges me. Katenka, who had observed nothing strange in Nikolai's behavior, still retorted, to the stepdaughter, You're being unfair. He adores you and always speaks highly of you, referring to you with great affection, respect, and consideration. I myself am proof of this. Have you never noticed, Katienka, that when we are alone my presence bothers him? I still think you're spoiled and overdoing it, wanting everyone to give you attention. You are the only sister, therefore the only and most beloved. Thus saying, he ran his fingers through the girl's long blonde hair, patting her head a few times, and then removing the compresses, invited her. Shall we peel lentils? Everything changed now on the Norobod farm. Without the presence of the former overseer, the cause of so many misfortunes and tragedies. Alex was exultant, and his joy was contagious. Vladimir, Borowski should return to St. Petersburg to continue his work. Any negligence would be fatal, and his plans could fail. He would travel as soon as Semyon returned. Very impressed with Sumarokov's daughter, Kostya looked at her with new interest. He already admired him for the dedication he showed to the cause, and now, with the aim of getting closer to his beautiful daughter. Unfortunately, duty called. He wanted to stay and get to know the beautiful Mayra better, but he cherished the firm decision to return to the farm again, demonstrating concern for his health. Of Sumarokov's daughter, asked her, "How is your daughter, comrade?" Annoyed, seeing so much interest, he replied laconically, "She's doing well. When I came here, she was still lying down. You are a happy man, Sumarokov, with such an angel at home. How old is your daughter?" insisted the friend. Even more laconic, Iulián Sumarokov replied, 15. "I knew, Sumarokov," said Vladimir, without bothering with a brief answer, "that if her daughter were alive, she would be about your age?" At this observation, Sumarokov shuddered, tried to escape his gaze. He felt relieved. When Karofsky approached them to argue, "Comrades, we have long days of work ahead of us to repair the damage that..." Sergei voluntarily caused several pieces of land. He was referring to the plot that Alex had divided, and it was up to him to deal with it. "This is a share I have left. You are luckier, Sumarokov, you got the cared for and fertile lands. Comrade, my responsibility becomes the same as yours, because I must try to improve them more so that they can continue to support the affected party. That's where the profit our boss is aiming for will come from," Saying this, Sumarokov took the opportunity to leave. "Wait, Comrade Sumarokov, will you allow me to visit your daughter to say goodbye?" He returned. Kostya insistent. "Feel free, Comrade Kostya," he replied. "Maybe she's at school now would be good. Check first, so you don't get late," he replied, referring to the trip. Karofsky and Kostya were still talking, but the latter wasn't even paying attention to what he was saying. He left him in the middle of the matter and went to school, hoping to see the young woman again. Semyon, seeing his friend arrive, thought he was visiting her and began to talk about his new project with the students, proudly introducing him to the children of Sumarokov who, thanks to the rich intelligence, replaced him during his absence. "Thanks to Nicolau and Pavel, I will be able to be absent as often as necessary and participate more of our meetings. Here, Kostya, we will form the new Russian mentality." Semyon looked at the class, enthusiastic about his students. But Mayra was not there, and Kostya was disappointed and, "Looking forward to seeing you again before you leave." He approached Nicolau and asked, trying to appear natural, "Your sister is still in pain, and that's why she didn't come?" "Yes, this was the reason why he missed classes," Nicolau replied, examining him, suspicious of his intentions. He could neither hide nor understand the momentary antipathy that felt for this man. Christian, sitting near them, also disagreed with the man's sudden interest and, jealous, he concluded with the intention of distancing him from his sister. "Mayra is fine. She just asked to rest, so there's no reason to worry." Vladimir Anton noticed the boy's tone of voice and smiled a little awkwardly. Semyon, who was listening, the dialogue interfered. "She can afford to miss classes as often as she wants. Her knowledge goes beyond majority of the room." "Don't tell me. Comrade Semyon, are you really that smart?" Vladimir turned around in astonishment. "She's the brightest student in the class," she replied. "Semyon, well, I'm coming back. Semyon, I came to say goodbye. I'll be waiting for you soon in Petersburg. See you, comrade. See you then, comrade." They both said goodbye with a kiss, and Kostya, after greeting the students with a nod, left the room, heading toward the fenced izba with his heart beating faster than his custom. As he crossed the path of sunflowers, Vladimir seemed to relive his last, enchanting, encounters with Sasha. How many times did he cross that path in search of his beloved, of his kisses and hugs? Their hidden meetings transformed the abandoned izba into a castle of dreams. It was as if I were reliving those strong, rich moments that would never fade away, of his memory, as long as he had life. His heart beat faster as he approached the small house. Katlenka was outside, hanging out some clothes, when she saw him. Embarrassed, she began to dry her hands on her apron and waited for him to approach. "Good morning, how are you?" Vladimir greeted her, smiling. "I'm fine, and you, sir?" he replied, extending his hand. "I'm fine," he said, squeezing the little hand. "How is Mayra?" I heard you didn't go to school. Yes, he still feels strong pain. He is limping and continues to rest in the room, he explained. Katienka, not knowing whether to invite him in or to send him away. I would like to say goodbye to her, Katienka. I don't know when I'll be back, and this girl made a huge impression. She is a living portrait of someone who is extremely important to me. And if allow me, I would like to see her, confessed Vladimir, opening up to the simple girl, who seemed trustworthy